All right, y'all. Welcome to the next installment of the Dismount Podcast. And today we are discussing nature. Will you answer its call? Boom. Oh, shout out to the Weekend Wild Warrior squad this week as they are our sponsors for this episode. Weekend Wild Warrior being one of our brands, reconnecting with nature. So we're building out a Discord. Got that all put together for the Weekend Wild Warrior squad. So if you're looking to try to communicate with others on nature, getting outside, any type of activity, physical activity, non-physical activity, but outdoors related, that is the Weekend Wild Warrior squad. And check out their Discord. We are the type of people who don't share our shit with other people because too many people screw up our camping sites, and we come back and then we have to spend 2 hours cleaning up our camping sites before we can actually enjoy our camping sites. So Weekend Wild Warrior was built to find other people to share those badass sites with who will take care of those badass sites. So getting into nature, will you answer its call? Why is nature so fucking badass? I got it right off the bat. Mycelium. Mycelium for me, just that whole show on Netflix, and yes, I'm going to give a little Netflix plug here, but if you go watch Fantastic Fungi on Netflix, that show will change your life. When I saw that they used mushrooms, mycelium, to map out the subway of a city over in Asia, that's badass, man. Like they literally just set up in a little petri dish all the different areas, like the major points in the city, and then put all the obstructions of like what type of like world and environment is in their way and let the mycelium grow. And that is now what the subway system is.
Wow.
They followed the subway. They followed it like almost verbatim because the mycelium showed them the most efficient and fastest way to grow from point to point.
Yeah. So much for overthinking it.
That's so cool. So like, knowing that supposedly like in like a square foot area, there is supposedly just millions of miles, just thousands of miles of mycelium underneath of you that are just grown like a network, like a web, just communicating and allowing all of like the neurons to tree like talk. That shit's wild.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen any of like the videos of people who have used plants to like make music?
I have, yeah.
There's
not enough to speak to it, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
There's a dude with an entire album that's just like all the different plants. He picks a plant and then he just finds different versions, species of that plant, and then makes an album off of it.
Jeez.
Wow.
Like that's wild.
Some homegrown music.
Yeah, homegrown freaking music. That's the real bluegrass, baby.
Wow. That's a good title for that.
Nature is gnarly. We talked about water erosion this past week together when we got together. Just like that whole mentality. And I thought about that because I saw a video out in like Wyoming or something where there was a dam that had gotten all breached up. And it was literally just wiping out the entirety of the land around what is that bridge and the little dam. And there is just a house like teetering, like falling water right now. Like, when's it going to go? Like, when's the land going to drop out from underneath of it?
Wow.
And then you sit there and you're like, dude, that happened in a matter of like 2 or 3 days that water just wiped out that entire area.
Yeah.
You're like, holy shit. Like, I thought that was sturdy freaking ground. No, just water was like, fuck you, adios.
Yeah. No, it makes you think of like all the things you go see if you go to a specific landmark when you go hiking or something of the sort. Is that might be the only time you see it as it sits there that time. It might be completely different the next time around.
Yeah.
And then to even consider how much it's changed over 100 years or 500 years or like any instance of that, like nature is always changing. It's
going on day floats up on the Mahoning. I shouldn't even have told anybody where our secret spot is.
Way to go. Shut it down.
Going for day floats up there, and just like we went this past weekend for my mom's birthday, and we could not find a single spot to like pull over because it had rained so much that it was just every bank, every little beach that we normally pull off onto completely gone. So we finally found this one spot where the one beach is that had a little bit of land that I like had to climb out of the boat and kind of like step your foot around because you're like, am I just on a marsh or is this actually like hard ground? And the last thing I want to do is just sink all the way down right to my knee. And then I'm trying to get my knee out of the damn freaking dirt.
Do the stanky leg over there.
But that's like, yeah, do the stanky leg. That's a real stanky leg. It'd be stanky as shit. Anywho, dude, the amount of times that we've done that float, and every single time I go there, like I kind of know where the areas are that we normally stop, but it's constantly different. Like you said, every time you go there, it's slightly different. So going back out to Colorado and seeing the mountains again, those mountains are going to be slightly different, you know? And it's just taking that nature. Why it's so fucking badass is because it puts you right in the moment of, if I don't cherish this moment right now, then I might not ever get this opportunity to look at this nature the way it's at right now. Yeah. That's just crazy.
Yeah, that's I put like any type of nature in that instance is like the perfect form of long-term gratification, because you can't just make mountains appear. Like you can't just make valleys appear. Like that's what, of course, I wasn't sitting around for thousands of years waiting for it. Like, oh man, it's coming around the corner. But that's why, yeah, it's long-term gratification. But I think you're exactly right. That's the perfect way to find yourself in the moment. You kind of do it naturally when like you're hiking. It's a great way to just step away, obviously. But when you're out there, if you're not willing to take in that moment, you're probably missing out on something in general, but you're probably just missing out on the fact that like that exact scenery won't be there again the way it sits with you right then and there.
And is that not a lesson that we get from nature, Tit? Like with the tectonic plates and everything, like they're constantly shifting and changing themselves. Yeah. So like
it could always be gone. Like we don't know what's really going to happen. I mean, generally the tectonic plates, they're inches, or when they move inches, that's when we feel like giant seismic waves. Yeah. So like them, a couple years could make a huge difference, but an inch for a tectonic plate could be a disaster. Like just that little snag, as far as I remember, this is 2015 environmental geology knowledge I'm going off of.
Brandon knows a lot about moving a couple inches and creating a huge wave.
It only takes one. No. But yeah, I think that's the coolest thing is, at least for my element of badass things in nature, one of them was the tectonic plates. Just the fact that our world recycles itself. Like the mountains we have today are a result of older tectonic plates just dropping and going underneath. The colder, denser, older tectonic plate goes underneath, and then it goes into like the core of the earth and just recycles. Maybe I want to say maybe it's the mantle. I don't remember the exact layers, but tectonic plate, one just goes underneath the other, and then it just recycles itself. And we feel an earthquake as a result when it snags up and just can't get down there.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah. I'm just like, what the hell? That's the coolest thing ever. No one talks about it. Yeah. But, we have, and then as we have one end, we'll just say which one's, so around the San Andreas fault line, I believe that's a subduction zone where the plate's going underneath the other one. So on the other side of it, you'll have like a spreading center. So you'll see that in movies, or like Coyote versus Roadrunner, whenever like the earth just opens up. So where you have one place it's shoving underneath, another place of the earth is opening up. Huh. And that's, to me, like one of the coolest things. Just it's recycling itself, but it's also,
creating something new.
Yeah. And it's just like, wow, that is insane to think about.
Well, that would be like the relationships of nature. That would be fascinating to like think about, like the connections. Like, oh, you have the one where the chipmunk takes a shit in the plant, and the plant loves it and just eats it up. And that, to me, like some people, you instantaneously sit there and you go, oh. That's kind of gross.
Like the same reaction of going to Taco Bell.
Mhm.
Like,
Or the
oh, man, you eat that?
Or the fact that we're worm food when we die. We're worm and bacteria food whenever we die. Like
Yeah.
as soon as we die, it's kind of tied together, that mushrooms idea. Not idea, fact.
Yeah, what a horrible fate to shove us in a wooden box
Yeah.
after the fact. They're just like, let me be eaten, you know?
Yeah, let me be
Oh,
recycled and put back in.
I have
Yeah.
a plug for that. That's tied together with our niche that I'll include right
Fire
now.
it up, dude.
So there's a geese funeral at work the other day, and it sounds crazy. Geese funeral. Geese used to pass by me at work outside by the river, and I enjoyed watching the river come by in between customers and just reconnecting with Earth and just feeling the wind, a hot day, just going, wow, this is a great time to be alive. I feel healthy. I feel vibrant. So around that time, all these geese, there's about 30 of them. They pass by throughout the day eating berries. So they come by, and then one of them got run over. And I was like, man, I was instantly kind of mad at the people in a hurry, because all these real estate people are coming in, flying out. And I actually was responsible in a way, because I redirected them because they couldn't get out fast enough. There was a huge influx of people all needing out at the same time. So I redirected a couple to the back exit. And those guys flew around the corner, ran over one. And then all the geese the next day, they were where I put the geese carcass. Somebody else would have put it in a plastic bag. Actually, I was told to do that, put it in a plastic bag. Like, what do you guys do if this happens? That's their protocol. Plastic bag, dumpster. I'm like, no, I'm going to put it right next to the riverbank. I'll let it be worm and fly food, and, not sit in a plastic bag.
Give it a proper bury.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just put it next to there. The funny thing was, during that goose funeral, all of a sudden I saw my first 2 ducks. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, the geese were huge, and these ducks, there was a male and female, and they came over to the berries. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. As soon as they all kind of like have their like day or their moment, then the mallards come in for the niche, and they're like, we can't, us two, come eat these berries when there's 30 geese. But if those geese walk away for a bit, we'll come back for the berries.
So are you sure that it wasn't the ducks who killed the goose?
It could have been. It could have been. I think they isolated it. They
Those
planned them.
mallards, bro, they are up to no good.
I tell you what, I think one of those geese could take 2 of those ducks. They were so tiny. They were smaller than a shoebox.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then the
Are
goose.
you the mallard of humans?
Am I the mallard of humans? Go ahead and dig a little deeper into that question. Sure. What, am I moving in silence? My next move already planned? I mean, if the enemy is geese, then yes, I am the mallard of humans, because I'm trying to find sympathy over here for your goose story. It
I know.
seems very sweet, Brandon. You seem like a great guy.
I also
but-
know the North Shore
But
geese
those
are.
geese have it coming, and if it were up to me, there'd be a lot more funerals.
They are often in the way. I just happen to be a benefactor. I was like, it's a matter of time. Don't name them. One of them are going to go.
They'll fuck you up, man.
Yeah, they hiss at me. Dude,
Oh,
whenever
they
I
hiss?
They will fuck you
They
up.
hiss? Does any other bird hiss?
I don't
I
know.
think so. I feel like an ostrich doesn't hiss, but it has something like that.
Keep rolling.
All I know is those birds are assholes, man.
Yeah.
They protect their own. I will give them that, but they are assholes, dude. If you have a flock of them that come through your parking lot of your work, it is a pain in the ass, because you
Yeah.
go park on the other side of the parking lot
Yeah.
sometimes.
You got to beep, drive up, creep up, beep, keep going it.
I don't even fuck with them, man. You beep at them, you get out of your car, they start running after you. There's like 5 of them going like this, coming right at you, and you're running into your office. I've had it happen before,
Ew.
dude. They fucking get pissed and they just start coming at you, man.
Oh yeah, the wings
guys
when
are-
they get wide open.
They start
Yeah.
like, I'll take off.
I'm
Don't
sure-
make me.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, dude. Okay.
They seem like they were pissed though, because I picked it up by the leg and I like carried it over and I put it next to the river. Well, here like the next day, I think they thought it was me, because they were like hissing at me. They were like, "Yeah, you're the bird killer, aren't you?" And I'm like, "No, I'm the Undertaker. I'm just dropping him over at a proper burial." You know?
Yeah, you didn't even have the common courtesy to put him in a hefty bag. What's wrong with you?
I did, to be fair, put him in for transport, put him in the bag because I needed my hands.
Yeah.
But then I took him out.
Okay.
And I wore gloves for any viewers. Don't worry, I wore gloves. And I cleaned my hands after.
All right.
So the chipmunk pooping in the plant and the plant loving it, like that connection that we were talking about. Like I just find that so funny because you instantaneously like most people's reaction to that is like, ew, that plant literally just eats that chipmunk's shit, and then you're like, what's cow manure? Like where does all of the nutrients from our actual food come from? Oh, it's recycled.
Yeah.
Like.
I think that's the whole ignorance with the food process in general. Like how many people look at a chicken breast like, oh man, let's go back to that chicken that was slaughtered for this. Like it's there's a removal from that process for sure. That
without a doubt.
Just kind of like, oh, I don't. What I don't know is better off.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be so close to the relationship that people have with nature. How often do you walk through an area and you're just like, fuck, man, I didn't bring a trash bag. Like there's just too often I'm going to a place and I'm like, shit, I gotta prefer a trash bag. Like to be able to enjoy it. Like, so that relationship of people being so disconnected from where their food comes from and like where their nutrients, to me, would be exactly why you walk into nature or you're driving through and you just flick your cigarette butt out the window and you're like, dude, you just smoked with your fucking windows up that entire time. And you have to throw, like, your cigarette bud is going to make your car smell worse.
Yeah.
You're fucked in the head, pal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
That is an issue, unfortunately. And I think it's just, again, ignorance of the situation of like how much effect you actually have.
It's just a complete disconnect. I think that's where like, and this isn't the episode for the NPC style talk, but like that's to me where like that NPC mentality towards life is so like, it's a reality.
Yeah.
It's a reality. I think it's even more prominent when it comes down to people's connection back to nature.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about our journey back to nature, and we'll get into that later in some instance. But I agree. I think the disconnect is really tough. And as you mentioned, it's not a going through the motion situation, I don't think, but it just becomes a point where you're so ignorant to the effect you have on the people around you, the environment around you, and how much of like, it's almost like a battle of like how much you respect yourself. And then you're willing to put that outwards. Like if you're not already respecting you and what you put out there on a daily basis, then how the hell are you going to respect anything else anyway?
Yeah. That was exactly where I was going to go with that. It's like, dude, you hit the nail on the head. Bingo. Shut the fuck up, Zach. Yeah. Move on to the goddamn.
Anyway, let's talk Wolverines. Hold on.
Oh,
I want to get mine.
Yeah, get yours out there, dude.
Wolverines eat so much they have to squeeze themselves between a tree to shit.
That's badass.
That's all I got. Thanks.
That's badass.
No, I had a couple more for the badass things. Crows, I think, are sick. Any of you big crow guys?
I added it on their fun fact.
Yeah.
You know what the name of a flock of crows is?
No.
Conspiracy.
Sick. I mean, they are. Dude.
Isn't that crazy?
I think just alone the facial recognition, that like if you fuck with a crow, they will know your face for the rest of their life. They will never forget it. Ever.
I'm a crow.
Yeah. And not only that, they recognize your face on such a high level that the grudges they hold against you, they pass down to their children.
Huh.
You amazing. Are now
who talked to a crow? Who talked to a crow? Who the hell took a bunch of drugs and talked to a crow?
No, dude, that was
no. I'm asking, how the hell do they know that this crow passed on its frustrations?
Hey, I don't know.
That's
you want
insane.
to get a crow in here to interview?
Yes, I would love to. Well, how the hell do I talk to him?
I'm sure there's crows that have.
You gotta start with mycelium.
I'm sure there's a crow podcast because they also have a language that they attend to. Like they are highly communicative animals. Like they can speak to when like danger is coming. And I just, what else they have? And also the, just like the geese. I don't know if it carries on other birds or animals, but it kind of does for sure. But crows mourn death. Like really take it like a human being. Like Yeah, like it affects them highly. What was the only other one was the fact that they mate for life too, like penguins or something, like those birds. I find that really cool. Like there's they're a deeply wired animal. Like any other, I see other birds. You see a pigeon, dude. That the lights are out. They've always been out. In that bird,
Yeah.
that they're just running around eating
Oh my
popcorn.
gosh.
The crows I feel like are at a higher level for sure.
Crows are insane. The
Yeah.
fact that like there's dudes who literally just have crow armies.
What?
And then they just, you haven't seen those guys?
No.
Oh, there's a couple dudes that got crow armies and they send out their crows and they just go collect all the trinkets and then they come back with all these trinkets.
Okay, let me take a step back on the pigeons, by the way. Pigeons are very smart animals when trained correctly.
Yeah, pigeons.
It's like me. Like, if I was trained correctly, I would be smart. I'm more of a downtown pigeon than I am a carrier pigeon. That's for sure.
I had a good teacher.
Yeah, let's go. A nice little callback to the last episode.
I had a good teacher.
No, we were okay.
I'd be
So
the smartest fucker.
those were my badass things I wanted to bring up. I didn't want to harp on too much.
I think the beauty of the comment that you made about like how much you respect yourself is how much you give back to nature, how much you have that relationship connection. To me would be another badass thing of nature is like the relationships of nature that ultimately like benefit each other. Like the chipmunk shitting in the plant. But like for instance, Titty had the pilot fish.
Cool.
Like the pilot fish hanging out with white tip sharks and like being the protector of taking out all the parasites, which would be going into our next section of the limp dicks of nature. But dude, the connection of certain animals like protecting other animals or certain species protecting another species or helping each other advance or those connections, those relationships that have like grown in nature is this, to me, that's where you loving yourself, you loving nature, you building those relationships back ultimately to me builds you into a way better version of yourself.
Yeah.
Also, a quick shout out before we move to limp dicks of nature. Dogs. Dogs have evolved with humans for, I don't know, probably thousands, maybe tens of thousands. I have no idea what the number is. But dogs in ancient Greece actually also used to help with the saliva, would help like open wounds. I don't know if it helps with clotting or if it helps clean. I think it helps clean, but there's like agents in the saliva of dogs to help out humans. So if you get like a super bad cut, they might bring over like one of their dogs to lick. But also they used to use napkins. Bread was napkins.
Oh.
So imagine just like cleaning off your hands after eating some greasy chicken and then throwing the bread to Ruby. That's how you clean your hands. And also, obviously they did have people to test for poison that were actually designated people that did that. But I think they also did use dogs, unfortunately. But
being the guy who had to be the poison tester, like, hey Steve, get over here.
like, oh, I really don't like. I'm lactose intolerant.
Steve, come try these berries.
Man, that'd be a terrible job.
That is just, that right there is such a fascinating thing to think about, the fact that we've come from a place where, dude, Darwinism was a serious freaking thing. Now to the fact that if you die from something really stupid, you're extra stupid.
You're extra stupid.
Yeah.
No, you're a high level. I mean,
Well,
you got to
then-
argue we're more intelligent than we've ever been. We have more accessibility to learn how to avoid things than we've ever been. Our life expectancy will continue to grow over our lifetime. So if you go out into like nature and you find a way to die in the same way that someone else died 3,000 years ago, you are really pushing it, man. How did you make it this far? How'd you even get the shot?
I don't know, dude, but it definitely, with the wealth of information that we have nowadays and just the ability to be able to access it at your fingertips, yes, there is an exponential amount of bullshit out there, but there is, if I read 15, let's say we'll use easy nut math. If I read 10 articles and 8 of them say this and 2 of them say this, I'm pretty sure the 80% is the more intelligent motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Potentially. But argued once again, who's right in the 80s, who's right in the 20s. The 20s might be the rights. So it's hard. It's challenging. So yes, I still say that like if you die from something that is just foolish, yes, that is Darwinism at its finest. But like, I feel like Darwinism has been pulled so much out of the equation to survival. Like,
You ever see the people doing like the platform jumping from building to building?
oh shit,
Those people missed the call on Darwinism not being involved in today's society because they are actively trying to kill themselves.
yeah.
Yeah, or do handstands at the end of a building.
Yeah,
It's like, you don't need to do that.
Yeah. Who are you trying to prove something to?
free climbing,
Huh.
towers and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff, like without any kind. I mean, I understand you're some professional rock climber or some shit like that, but like still,
Could use a rope.
no
I'm
one.
professional in some instance, and I screw up every day. You're
Yeah.
gonna put your life on the line over it?
But you're also going. I think the thing is like it's one thing to live on the edge, and like this would be something that would totally tie into this. Like, there's a guy who I see regularly who like climbs all these crazy things in cities. He'll go to these like new towers that they're building and just fucking scaffold them. But he gets arrested, and it's just like, dude, I understand that like you have the capabilities of being able to do that, and like it's badass, and like don't get me wrong, like people are gonna love to see you do that. But what is the one chance you come splatting down right in front of like a 5-year-old walking on the street?
Yep.
Yeah,
And you just ruined that kid's entire life because he just witnessed some dude just go splat, and like he can never not see that.
back to Darwinism again. I saw a video yesterday. They didn't show the video. They showed the prior instances of a guy wearing a Uncle Sam hat, smoking a cigarette, dancing around at a 4th of July party. Like, this was the last seen video of this man. 5 minutes later, he put a firecracker in his hat and it blew his head off.
It blew his head off?
I don't mean to laugh, dude, but like,
Jesus Christ.
man, what was in that cigarette? You know?
Holy shit.
There's that,
Jeez.
and I was thinking, I follow some guy on Instagram who, on the 4th of July during the fireworks, climbed to the top of Heinz Field, the top above the seating on the platform, and the pictures are dope, but like, how the hell did you get up there? What if you fall again in front of a ton of people, and then like, what are you risking as far as like, trespassing, different laws that put you away for like, was that really worth it?
I think sometimes it's cool, but then at the end, you start to sit there and go like, okay, dude, but I get that like the badass mentality of it and like all this stuff, but like go sign up for Red Bull.
Yeah.
Like go do the Red Bull shit. Like those guys are doing ridiculously unnecessary, stupid shit, but like they're taking like all the precautions. It takes them probably like 2-3 years to be able to put on one of those 1-minute fucking videos that they build where the BMX track on a hot air balloon. That was insane. Like a skate park. It was a skate park with a hot air balloon. Like that's insane. That's badass. But that takes like years to do. So like this guy who's climbing to the top of Heinz Field, like,
Also,
okay,
brothers,
so
I'm
now-
sorry, I really gotta go to the bathroom.
do your thing, dog. Dude, if that like guy falls, okay, so now you just screwed up the coroner's night. Now you just screwed up the police officer's night. You screwed up the paramedics. Like you just caused so many people to be put out by your one tiny little thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, okay. So the question I was going to ask both of you, stemming off that, is if you were guaranteed reincarnation, like you knew that if something happened, you were to come back in another human form. It wouldn't be, probably wasn't even the same. I don't have to get too deep into it. But if you're guaranteed reincarnation, would you take more risks like that?
I already know that I'm coming back in reincarnation and I'm not taking those risks.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not a video game. You're not going to come back the same person.
Right. And so that
Knew that there was something after. Would you live your life a little more on the edge?
I would argue back and forth. I would argue back and forth on it. I would want to live more on the edge, but then it would always be lingering in the back of my mind. Like, I don't know who I was in my last life, and I don't know who I'm going to be in my next life. And I really don't know how this whole incarnation, like reincarnation thing works. And it's definitely something where, like, for me, like sitting here thinking about reincarnation and just it being something to where, like, Am I gonna go base jump because I know I'm gonna reincarnate? Am I gonna go? Am I gonna go? I'm gonna go skydiving, dude.
See, like, but I feel like that's like there are precautions put in place to still be able to achieve that, right?
Yes, but I feel like
You do it every day. It's like flying. It's like taking an airplane.
some people do it every day, but you also don't see people every day splatting because those aren't the stories that want to be told.
Got a big scare skydiving, shut those stories
Yeah,
down.
like I mean, I'm not saying there's a ton of people. I would like to actually know how many people die in the United States from skydiving each year,
I'll tell you in a second.
because that would be an interesting thing to actually know. Like, what actually are the true risks to some of these things that you would do?
According to the USPA, there have been an average of about 18 skydiving deaths per year reported in the United States over the last decade. They have recently reported an average of 3.9 million jumps in 2022 with an estimated 20 skydiving related fatalities. So 3.9 million jumps, 20 people died.
Okay, that's pretty good. Those are some pretty good. I feel
20
like-
people still died, bro. I've had some bad luck. I'm never going to win the fucking lottery, but I might be the guy who dies skydiving.
What would be those things if you, for yourself then, what would be those things that you would do?
Oh, dude, I'd buy a motorcycle.
You'd be the motorcycle?
I'd be the motor. Well, no, I don't know. I don't love the idea of motorcycles in general. I feel like I would die on one. I would definitely get more onto the motorbike, dirt bike train. Like for instance, like even like the single track biking. I'm definitely afraid of that. I just don't think I have the mental stamina to be like there every second. You have to be so aware. I mean, it's a lot of memorizing how turns come and everything. But like, I would screw that up so quickly and hurt myself badly. Those are things that like, yeah, I could probably still do in my life, and maybe I will one day. But those are things I'm afraid of because I feel like I would screw that up. And it's all on me. Skydiving's not all on you. You don't jump out of a plane by yourself. I'd be more willing to take on the like man versus nature feats. Putting myself out there in nature, going out to
Walking through the Amazon.
right, exactly. Things like that you would never consider right now.
I could fuck with that.
Yeah. I can't like skydiving, sure. Like I could do that this lifetime. If the right opportunity, I would do it because there's a process to it. There's someone that's literally attached to you to make sure like you don't do anything. You just jump. They take care of everything. That's calculated. What isn't calculated is showing up in the Amazon like man versus wild and be like, all right, dude, I got a backpack and I'm just going to hike out of the Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's not right. The question, Brandon, was if you were guaranteed reincarnation in some instance, would you live your life a little closer to the edge?
Would you take more risks?
Am I guaranteed the type of reincarnation?
No, you're not coming back the way you are. You might not even come back in this exact universe. You might.
But you're guaranteed you're coming back.
Yeah, I think the answer would be I would take more risks. I'm not quite sure what kind of risks, but knowing that there's a certainty that, that I'll be back would definitely encourage me to take more risks, but like ones that would be more fruitful. Like if it paid off, it paid off. Not just like, I'm going to take more risks to advance in my business career. It'd be like, I'm going to take more risks to try to see what I can make of myself. And then like, if it turns out bad, it turns out bad and I'll be gone anyway, but I could come back.
Yeah.
But
what would be those risks?
Yeah, I don't see that's the issue. I'm not talking about furthering myself. I'm just talking about dumb shit in nature. I don't want to get that deep into it.
Well, and it would.
But it is. I mean, it's funny to think about. Like, if you think about, cool, if you were guaranteed another chance at it again, then like Brandon says, yeah, I'd be willing to take more risks to advance myself. Then like, okay, what's holding you back now? Then
is that one of the limp dicks of nature? Walking out into nature and not knowing you're going to come back?
That could be a limp dick in nature for sure. I mean, it's
like the uncertainty.
Dude, it's fair. Like I went to freaking Colorado with you, and Doe and I just went for like a tiny little walk up the road that cars drive up and down every day. It took one right turn, and within 30 seconds there was a bear 10 feet from us. I mean, I knew there were signs that said there were bears. Did I think I was going to see a bear? No. Could I have been killed by that bear? Probably not, because it was a baby. Was its mom around the corner? Yes. So like, were those things that like happen really fast, and realize like how quick you can go like, oh, everything is fine, to I'm being chased by a 800-pound bear? Yeah, man, that shit can happen quickly without you even calculating any of the issues. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, that is a limp dick of nature for sure. We talk about badass things of nature. This was the this was the opposite end of the spectrum, the limp dicks of nature.
I think the uncertainty of nature, because like for instance, you walk out into nature and you're someone who cares about nature and you show respect to nature. You clean up after yourself. You do all the things. You show respect to the animals that are there. You're not trying to fuck with the animals. You're not a hunter. You're not that kind of stuff. So when you go out into nature, you would hope that nature would give back the level of respect that you have for it.
Well, yeah,
But we're talking about a damn 800-pound bear that is, you're in its environment. You've just encroached on its home. All right.
Right. And that's,
what the fuck?
Well, that's all it is like a lot of those animals want nothing to do with you until you put what they have at risk. You know? I mean, that's even like, I love spiders. The spiders outside my apartment, dude. Huge fan. I don't bother them. They don't bother me. You're going to eat all the gnats that fly around at night. Beautiful. I love it. You know, you're not coming inside or anything, but you can hang out there. Now, the bear, when I go out to Colorado, in southwestern Colorado, and we're hiking around and there's no civilization at all, and I'm acting like I'm supposed to be here.
Your spider dog?
Like I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. Like, oh, yeah, this is my land is your land, bear. Like, nah, dude, it is not. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, you're the spider. Like
Yeah,
he said.
the bear said, "Oh shit, there's a spider." Swat.
No, we had some more of the I believe some more limp dicks of nature you want to rattle off as well. I think I added one as well. We had the one I put it in, limp dick of nature. We're going back to the goose already. When a goose sticks its head down in the water and its little flappers come up and its ass is up in the air and it's digging for fish, that is the lamest shit I've ever seen, bro.
It looks like he's trying to drown himself.
Yeah, dude. I would too if I was a goose. Another one. Oh, this was a big one. This might be the goat of the limp dick of nature. Poison ivy. Now, okay, let me ask you a question, then I will answer it. Are people immune to poison ivy? Is that a real thing?
I don't know, because I used to get poison ivy when the wind blew. Like I landscaped with my dad for like 15 years, and I would get poison ivy if it was 3 yards down, and the wind was blowing down the valley. That was how fucked poison ivy was for me. Yesterday, for instance, we found a perfectly good spot to pull over to be able to actually like cook. I cooked Philly cheesesteaks and stuff on the side for my mom because she loves Philly cheesesteaks. So we made some Philly cheesesteaks and stuff on the float. Oh, they were fantastic. But anywho, pull over into this one area, the part where I was like trying to feel out whether it was marsh or not. And we're chilling for the longest time. And like Anastasia goes, "That's poison ivy." And then my dad's like, "That's poison ivy. That's poison ivy. That's poison ivy." Yeah, there's a lot of poison ivy around here. Mom was like, "Oh my goodness, are you okay?" I was like, heavens to Betsy, I have like not gotten poison ivy that way in a long freaking time. Like, it didn't bother me. And I was like, "No, I'll be all right. As long as I, chill out, wash myself off, we'll be all right. We'll be cool." Didn't get it. Got sun poisoning. I didn't get that.
Hell yeah, dude. No, I think you've never gotten poison ivy. It's never happened. Is poison ivy past its heyday?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's poison ivy.
There's so much poison ivy. There's so much freaking poison ivy
poison
out
ivy
there.
nowadays.
It's out there.
When's the last time you had poison ivy, Brandon?
Since I was a kid, but since we mentioned it, my dad, when he was a kid, there was a bunch of times where he wasn't getting it, and then all of a sudden he got it when he was like 40, and he had to go to the hospital.
You don't remember 2 years when I got poison ivy from the cleaning out the weeds in the back alley?
Yeah.
And my whole face looked like I went 8 rounds with not landing a single punch on Mike Tyson. Oh, dude, I was all kinds of freaking fucked up, man.
As a public service announcement, how did you treat it whenever?
Oh, so Phil's Napsa. It's like a laundry bar soap. It's old school as fuck, dude. But it's a bar, and they used to use that to do their laundry. And that stuff you wash with that and then rinse it off. That stuff just dries your skin out.
Okay, nice.
So it's definitely not good for you, but it just dries you the fuck out. You're basically like kind of low grade bleach. You're kind of probably you're probably cooking with there.
I can't stand dry skin, bro. I'd be so pissed off. I'd rather just sit around and have poison.
It's like you thought it was itchy before.
A lot of steroids, and Phil's Napsa to clean yourself off. And yeah, that was miserable.
The one I hated more than poison ivy because my instances with it were none. Was the itchweed, the good old itchweed, dude. We had a ton in our yard growing up. I'll never forget when we moved into the house. We spent most of our childhood and probably like after like 10, my brother and I, and I think both of you had been there. And there's like a huge yard, big hill right next to the driveway. My brother and I were just pissing off, doing shit we shouldn't have done. Right when my dad was seeing the house and brought us over to check it out with the realtor, and my brother rolled down the hill, and instead of going straight down, he made a little bit of a left turn and went straight into the itchweed.
Oh, poor man.
Yeah, that was tough. We were like, okay, no playing over there. But I mean, man, your kids, like we had wood surrounding it. I mean, you would get it. And it's just, that bubbly, horrible feeling, man. And it's temporary and it goes away. But that shit was rough. If that was any instance of what poison I was like, I'm glad I've never got it.
You've never had poison ivy?
I've never had
poison ivy. I'd rather have itchweed than poison ivy.
Never had it.
You got attacked by other shit in nature, but not poison ivy?
Fucking ticks, dude. Limp dick of the century, tick bites.
Yes.
Yep.
My God. You ever have your face stop working?
Yep.
You ever not be able to drink?
Yeah, you ever not be able to move your mouth?
Saliva starts coming out.
You ever have to lay backwards to be able to drink?
Yeah. The issue with the tick thing is, and the Lyme disease, is that maybe isn't actually as natural as people think it is. May have just been created in a lab.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about
anyway,
that. Yeah, so move on.
Prying, I'm just going to read it for what it says here. Praying mantis / black widow getting decapitated after getting the nookie. Brandon, would you like to expand on that?
So I forget who. So it might have been you, Zach. You're like, I forget which thing like decapitates, and I'm like, oh yeah, praying mantis. I'm like right after sex, it's like the Cleopatra of.
Dude, imagine being in American Pie. And you're about to get laid, dude.
Yep.
And then it's like instantaneously she just bites your head off. You're dead. You're like,
yeah.
I'm 18 years old. I just got. And then,
you know that moment of clarity. You're like everything's clear. You know the skies open up, and you're just like, oh man, yeah, I feel like $1 million.
Can you imagine if every time you secreted, you had to lose like a body part or something?
Oh, which one? Which one are you guys losing?
I don't know. You start losing toes.
Oh, no, I can
start with some toes.
No, pinky toe. Pinky toe's where I'd start.
Pinky toe is where I start.
I'm probably starting my right pinky toe. I can't move that one, so I'll just get rid of that one.
That sounds horrible. Like that is such a limp dick of nature.
Go with hair fall.
It's physically.
Hair falls out.
I'll go bald first.
Yeah, fair. Actually, didn't think of that.
It's such a limp dick of nature. Physically, I would keep my dick limp in nature if that's what was to happen, man. Because that sounds horrible. It is the epitome of the limp dick of nature.
Okay, so that is the number one spot for
and then Black Widows also are with them. I don't know if they get decapitated, but they do get murdered by their spouse.
Oh yeah, dude.
The female.
I've been there, brother.
As much as we love it, the beach and sand. And as much as the sand dunes were a blast, dude, I'm still pulling sand out of shit down in my garage from the sand dunes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. The sand in your pants. That, for me, that's the one, bro. Like, you go to the beach, you sit there on the shore.
Some SpongeBob shit.
You're having a great... Exactly. Yeah, you're having a great time. And then, oh my God, you get back to take that shower, and then, like, the netting in your trunks. I mean, dude, you're pulling weight. You're like, yeah, that's me. That's me. You know, I'm in case you open it up and there's a pound of sand always in there. And then, oh my God, the rash you could get from the sand rubbing on the legs. Oh, tough.
Natural exfoliant.
I guess until you don't have any skin left.
Until you don't have any skin left, until it's exfoliated everything.
Yeah.
So return to nature. Either of you guys have a slight story? I think Brandon has a little bit of a story.
Yeah, I have a pretty good one about work. I might have mentioned in a previous episode, but whenever I was machining for almost 2 years. And one of the things that is the downside is no windows. No windows. Every once in a while, you'll see like a garage door open. You'll be like, oh, it looks nice outside. But there's no windows. So whenever you want to take a break, reconnect, one of the things I would do is I'd go walk next to the creek, listen to the running water, hear that. It's a whole lot better than the machines. And then you get to like look at something green. And then I just take a few moments. All right, back at it. I pop back in. But then I changed jobs. And when I changed jobs, oh man, it was like the third weekend. And my job is to stand out and make sure all these buses can get through and have no issues. We had a bunch of groups for I won't say which place, but we had a bunch of field trips and groups in the month of May. And for me, I'm getting attacked by allergies. I'm getting just hit left and right. I was getting torn up, but I wouldn't trade it because I was next to the river. I was hanging out. It's beautiful sun. I got a decent tan. And I would say that the river was huge. Like it was just like, oh man, I just like in this moment, things are happening, but I can be like fully present for a good 30 seconds to just kind of ground myself. I don't want to overuse that word, but to ground myself. I know we'll be mentioning grounding here in a bit, but that's exactly what I felt I was doing. I didn't have my shoes off or anything, but I just got to sit and be with the wind, the sun, the river, smell it, all the geese, even though they're little terrors, but I got to be with the geese, got to watch geese grow up. I got to watch geese grow up in front of my eyes.
That's cool.
Got to see them like day after day, pretty much the size of a pop can. Go from a little bit bigger than the size of a 12-ounce pop can to growing to these giant hellions who, are, taking over the North Shore 1 inch by 1 inch. But yeah, I got to reconnect with nature through the river, the wind, the geese, just them growing up, and the sun.
Yeah.
It's like, this is great. Just sun, river, wind.
Yeah.
I think the beauty of you being able to see stuff moving around you and see life still happening versus being inside of that, like, we'll just call it a factory, and you can't see anything outside of just that factory.
Yeah.
So all you know is just that environment. At that moment, you're sitting there and you're making a part, and you just look around and you see everybody else is just making parts, and you don't see any other like life existing. And you see these people who are just like super drained, super bummed out, like, you've said hi to the same person 14 times today, passing them.
Trying to change it. Honestly, we mentioned NPC. There's no closer moment than feeling like you got to pass someone. I used to walk outside, walk the long route, just so I wouldn't say the same conversation the 12th time today.
Yeah. So that beauty of being able to watch that stuff move around you and like watch even just if all you had was just the river.
Yeah.
And just like watching that water flow and like that water's here and now it's there and who knows where it's heading to, but life is still happening around me versus like I feel like nothing is happening outside of just this.
Yeah. For me, like the return to nature wasn't as much a return as like, oh, I wouldn't go out hiking or something and then all of a sudden I did. Like I think it's been a constant in my life, but like Brandon mentioned, I'm sure you'll get into it too, like the grounding was huge for me. Like whether it was after a bike ride, like just sitting, like going to the point and sitting there for like 5 minutes and closing my eyes and then opening them. And I'm like, holy shit, like that is completely different. If you just sit there and breathe for 5 minutes outside and then open your eyes, you're like, oh wow, everything looks different. You feel different. It makes a world of difference for me. And then on top of that, like I think it is so underrated. Like when we went to Colorado, like I was just I felt like a different person there. Like just as far as like clearing out the noise in your brain, like I feel like I'm someone that just has whatever hamster wheel is turning in my brain is going up, down, left, right at any instance. And to go out there, like I think it's so underrated how much that just relieves that tension that we find ourselves in nowadays of like everything is more connected than it's ever been. When you live in a city, like you can't escape. You almost can't. You can't with nature of like your life and what goes into it nowadays. There is no way to escape it. But when you're able to make it intentional to go out into nature and to refocus, it's a lot easier than you think it is. You just have to be intentional when you do it.
It feels like sometimes you have like 100 radios in your head that are all tuned to a different radio station.
Yeah.
And then you get out into nature and just all of those radios turn off.
Yep.
And there's like maybe like 5 left. And like the one is the birds coming through.
Yep.
The other one's the babbling brook right next to you. The other one's the eagle that just came swooping over. And then the other one's like the chipmunk that's rustling through like the weeds right next to you. And you're like, what the fuck's in there? Okay, it's probably just something small, but like, what the fuck is in there?
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
What the fuck are you?
Spoiler alert, it was a bear.
It was a bear. But for me, like my return to nature, I've always been someone who has loved the outdoors, loved being like physically active and that kind of stuff, and loved like, dude, I was the kid who could have spent, honestly, I was the kid who my mom had to tell, get your ass back inside. You've been sledding for the last 10 hours. Like it is time to come inside. You need to warm up. You need to like, your feet are probably frozen. Like,
Yeah.
I was that kid, and I was the kid who rode my bike everywhere, rode my bike to all my buddies' places. So I never felt like I really had a true like reconnect to nature type of like moment,
Right.
honestly, because I've always felt like I've had this connection to it. But man, when my real true reconnection to nature was realizing and actually physically experiencing how badass nature really is. In the sense of like the beauty that some of these things that have been created by the fucking earth have the capabilities of being able to do. Dude, there is too often I'll go to work and like I sit here and I'm building out Scooby Ruby Media with you guys. I'm building out all these different things to try to get myself to a place where I'm financially free and can go do whatever I want to do when I want to do. And I work for a great company, but I'm diligently trying to get away from there. I'll constantly say it. It's keeping it in my mind. I work for a great company, but on a regular basis, I come into work and I don't want to frickin' be there. Like I just would rather be at home editing, rather be working on the podcast shit, rather be creating new shit for this, like not doing what I'm doing. And I'll go outside and I'll take my shoes off and it'll be like 8 o'clock in the morning. No one will be there still, maybe 7:30. I'll take my shoes off and I'll just start doing Qigong. It's the one simple movement of Qigong with no shoes on in the grass, pointed right at the sun. And every single time I do that, man, my entire mood, everything about me has like 180'd. And it is the wildest shit. And I can't explain it. You can't put words to it. It's just it's a mere flip of a switch. Honestly, it's like a light switch. You've went from this miserable fuckwad to this, wow, holy shit.
Yeah.
And at what point in time in the 10 minutes was I doing that? Where was the actual transition? Because I didn't even see the transition. I went from one moment of just being like still kind of frustrated about this to like, boom, holy shit, none of that matters. All my energy is back. Where the hell did all this energy come from? Because I just wanted to go to sleep 10 minutes ago and not be here. And like, I'll go on a regular basis now. If it's nice outside at sometime between 11 and 1 o'clock, I'm spending 30 minutes in the grass at work. I park my car over in the grass parking lot. I put it on an angle so that I can lay on the hillside right behind it and no one can really see me. You can still see me, but like I try to hide myself a little bit.
So I was going to say, no one in history did this because it looked cool.
No, it's definitely not because
there got to be something to it.
And everybody thinks I'm sunbathing. Everybody honestly thinks I'm tanning. They're just convinced. Like, that's what everybody says. Like, they're like, hey, tomorrow when you go out there and go tan, why don't you do this? And I'm like, okay, I'm not tanning, but it's okay. Like, take my shoes off. A lot of the times I'll put headphones in, but they're like wired headphones. I don't do the Bluetooth, and I'll sit there with just chill hop on to try to block out, because there's a busy road right there. Try to block out that, and I just chill with some bird sounds and some lo-fi, and just close my eyes for 30 minutes, laying in the grass with my shoes off and just completely connected back to the grass. And it is fucking amazing. Life-changing. And I notice it when I don't do it. Like when I don't release all that negative energy back into the earth, I can tell.
Yeah.
And like, for instance, this past week, I was like, it was a short week at work. I was like, I could just not go outside and like get more shit done for the podcast. And I was like, nope, fuck that. Got to go out and do that, man. This shit is too good. Like, yeah. I'm not cutting on this.
Right.
Like, I would rather not have the podcast done for this week than cut out on doing this, because this has been so beneficial to my life. And I know that sounds so wild. Like, that's the thing for me, like with the nature of like, what are the healing capabilities that nature is able to provide back to me? Because that is the thing that I didn't realize, that connection, the animal to animal, human to human kind of thing, that relationship of you back to nature is how much can I give back to you for you to give back to me is such a beautiful relationship.
Yeah.
Like growing fruit or growing food outside right now. Like I creamed my pants this morning because I was like, holy shit, Hoss, look at this fucking green pepper we're growing. I didn't even see this son of a bitch. It's this fucking big, dude.
Oh.
This green pepper is huge. I was like, this is badass. Like, this is so cool. I'm like, that to me, like finding that relationship is like the ultimate for me.
Right.
So that to me would lead into our final section. Who do you think, how to phrase this? What is your favorite? Mountains, forest/woods, beaches, watersheds, so like swamps, bogs, deltas. And what was our last one?
Open fields.
Open fields. So open fields, prairies, wildflower fields, all that kind of stuff, because those are badass too. For me, I'm all about the mountains. I'm locked in on the mountains. And not that the mountains, I personally, why I think I'm so locked into the mountains is because to me, I look at the mountains as being sturdy and like consistent. And that is the thing that I am striving to become the most in life right now. So that's where, to me, like the mountains talk about my personality the most right now. That's my vibe.
Yeah. I would lean towards that as well. My answer. I think that even from like a young age, like I was like I like the Colorado Avalanche when I was younger. Like Peter Forsberg, dude, he was a dog. That was my early 2000s love of hockey. But I always knew if I ended up in Colorado, I would not want to come back here. And I can't say that that is the case, but I want to go back as soon as humanly possible. I'd go back and do the same exact trip we did.
Yeah.
I would go do it all over. We can go to the same exact place, and I would be looking forward to it to no end. I think it started as the beach. Like the beach, I still love going to the beach, but not for the reasons why people love going to the beach. I have no interest in sitting there and baking in the sun and getting sand in my pants and drinking 2 beers and then wondering when I can go home. Like I love the beauty of the beach, but like I loved it when we went to Cape Cod on the 2nd of January and went to the beach when there is nobody there but you in the ocean. And like, yeah, I'm not here to go swimming, but like that, like seeing the ocean breathe, no one around you, that's what I'm looking for. Like the serenity. Cause like I'm such a city body. It's all I've ever known. So like when I'm escaping it, I don't want to go to be around more people.
Like for instance, when I went out to California with my mom, Santa Monica Pier didn't do anything for me. But when we were down towards San Diego and we were waiting to meet up with an old high school buddy of mine and his family to go to dinner, and we found this beach and there was only like 10 other people out there that like you couldn't even see them basically. And you could just sit there, dig in, and we called a lazies. All right. A lazies. So we dig out a nice little honestly like an Adirondack chair almost, like into the beach, and you just pop back and you just enjoy the waves. That to me, that's the epitome of the beach, is actually getting the therapeutic like beauty of listening to that harmonious sound
Right.
of just the waves just crashing.
Yeah, you get up so many times at the beach and like you don't even hear it.
No,
you don't get.
You
any
don't
of
even
it.
get an opportunity
No.
to hear it.
No, I think the go to beach experience is the walk on the beach for sure. Now I can deal with it when it's crowded. That's what I'll do if it's a crowded day and like my whole family's at the beach. But like, dude, those morning or night walks. You ever go for a walk on the beach at night?
Mhm.
Horrifying, dude. Like you don't know what crab is down at your foot. You don't know what life is out there. Like it just, it's something I love. I still do it, but like you need a flashlight.
Yeah, we
for
did that.
Sure.
We did that back in we were 18. We went down to Myrtle. Or it was 19. Went down to Myrtle, and we were like, oh, we're gonna walk down to the big wheel, the big Ferris wheel, not knowing the big Ferris wheel was like 5 miles down the fucking beach. So we walked like 5 miles down the beach to get to the big Ferris wheel to realize, oh yeah, we gotta walk the whole fucking way back. This was a horrible decision.
Yeah.
We were like, man, how far did we go? And then we looked back to where our hotel was. We were like, oh, it's like 3 miles back down the beach. Oh, sick.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like
Damn.
I think now getting older, like with the mountains, like the way I feel it is like like the peace and serenity. Like I feel so different out there, but I think just the perspective on like how big those formations are. I mean, it was mind blowing, dude. When we were walking up Schneefels,
Mount Sniffles.
when you made it, me and Doe not so much.
We went to 13.9. We didn't go to the 14.
Okay. Well, regardless of
Still
what you
can't
did
say
or
I've
I
done
did,
a
it was still a
14.
feat, dude. We couldn't. I went through more oxygen that day than I was like an 80-year-old smoker, dude. I didn't know what was going on, but
Also, for me and for the viewers, is that because of the altitude?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, dude. So tough to breathe. So like being able to experience something like that, but realizing how small you are compared to like, oh, like that doesn't look like it's that far away. And then you walk for an hour and a half, you're like, oh, I haven't even made a dent into this. I'm just because I'm walking straight up the side of a freaking mountain. Like being able to put those things in perspective, and like it can be frightening to find yourself that small, but like there is actually like there is a journey to peace in that too. I think for me that like I find like cool, like yeah, I am really small on the grand scheme of things, but like all these problems that I have making out to be these huge mountains, they're not fucking mountains. Oh, this is a mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get up this fucking thing. Can I go back home and deal with budgeting better for next month? Yeah, that doesn't seem so bad, So I think it helps me put things in perspective. But like, I mean, my girlfriend said like, oh, we were only dating for a year. Went out there, like you can see how much that can change a person.
Yeah.
For sure.
Tit, what's your vibe?
So also shout out to sand and beaches. I feel like I'm one of the people who needs
Shout out to the beaches.
needs to build or bury someone in the sand legally, not killing, or be buried in the sand. I actually really enjoy that feeling of like, someone just finishing putting you in and then like pat, settling in the sand. And you're just sitting there like, this feels incredible. I feel like that's kind of like maybe part of like charging with the earth, but
Okay.
but it feels great. I love getting buried in the sand. I don't love the sand in the butt crack type of feeling, but I do like getting buried. Or building a moat. I like building the moat. Whenever it starts to come out, you're timing it out. You're like, all right, it's 11 o'clock. That's going to come out a little bit further. And then playing the game of like, by like 1 o'clock, is it going to get there? And then sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does. And then you're like, I have a successful moat.
Hell
You
yeah,
can't get
dude. Look at me, guys.
in. But my shout out for my answer probably would be, no pun intended there, would be mountains. But I haven't been to any like real mountains aside from like city mountains, like Mount Washington or stuff like that. So I truly have never been in that environment. And that would probably be my answer if I was like, experiencing a mountain. But my answer from experience is like woods and creeks. Like I love hiking trails, biking trails. I love all those things. I grew up, we were talking before the episode about camping, about how, we'd get on my bike. We'd be gone for like 7 hours. Just like we went all through our camp. Like we went alongside the lake, alongside the creeks, alongside of the woods, and we just go through there. I love being able to, one, look down and see all the roots coming through the ground and try to dodge them with your bike.
Yeah.
But then also I love the feeling of looking up in the trees, sometimes trying not to stare up too long because you don't want to tip over. But I really love that feeling of going in the woods and just being around it. So much so that Trisha and I, we have kind of like a discounted vacation coming up. Timeshare. I'm not really hip on timeshares, but we got a steal. So we got to do here's $200 for like free eating for your vacation trip. Will you sit down and listen to us try to sell you something? And I'm like, yeah, we'll sit. We're not going to buy. And then they're like, buy this like tens of thousands. We're like, we're not going to do that, man. But what we did do was we took they were like, all right, here, you go talk to somebody else. They do like their smaller scale things. And we're like, all right, yeah, we'll do this. We'll sell it. That's a really good deal. We'll do that. Like, yeah, you're going to take a vacation next 2 years? Yeah, we're going to take a vacation the next 2 years. So on our agenda right now is to go see the San Francisco Redwoods.
Oh, hell
that
yeah, dude.
is going to be legendary. I'm just super excited. I'm like, those beasts. I'm like, I've never been around trees that big. Like, just imagine a tree that's like
the entirety size of this room.
Yeah. If we just have a tree that just... the base of it is just so big you can't even comprehend it. And it's been there.
It's fascinating.
It's been there longer than generations of your family have been. So it might be, I don't know, 100 years old.
Holy shit.
Are you looking up redwoods right now?
Yeah, you better get out to the old growth forest.
And the reason I knew exactly where it was, I was brainstorming. I was like, it's San Francisco. How do I know that? Because of Caesar in Planet of the Apes was climbing, and and there's Golden Gate Bridge in the back, and I'm like, boom, that's it. San Francisco. We'll also visit her family member over there too. But I'm super stoked. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But that's on the bucket list. I really want to see the redwoods.
Yeah,
I just think it's
sweet,
so cool.
dude. That's badass.
People forget about it. It's people are just oh yeah, they're big trees. They're not just big trees. They're gigantic trees, massive. It undermines all of the words we have for big. Just incomprehensible how big these are. But my answer would be woods for the creeks that are there, all the experiences I have with biking and hiking, even the patches. Derek and I are city boys that we grew up, and there's only certain select patches of woods. You have Riverview Park, Northview Park, a couple other patches at Shenley Park. But for people who are city kids and you're not you don't have access, but you could go 15 minutes, drive 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden you have a patch of woods or woods run. That's a great one too.
I think woods are very important for us three for sure. That's how we got our start going into nature in those little instances. People forget that Western Pennsylvania is basically just West Virginia, and we threw and slapped a major city right into Western PA. That's all the difference is. Yeah. We're no different than any other hill and valley town in, Western PA, Eastern Ohio, Northern West Virginia by any manner. But that was definitely important for me. I don't know if the love for other aspects of nature comes without me going out into the woods at an early age, even with our city woods or whatever it is.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's definitely mountains right now. And I would say I would want to transition more into being someone who would it would be more focused around the woods. I feel right now, I'm kind of in this fully locking in my capabilities of who I am as a person to where the woods kind of have that they kind of signify that for me. It's kind of the thing right now. And I would say that I would want to be more of an enchanted forest woods kind of person.
Yeah, you come off as that for sure.
It's being very mysterious and magical, just no one knows what the fuck that guy's got going on.
What's going on next to this?
That guy's a fucking wild, bro,
Yeah, absolutely.
Wild weekend, wild warriors, baby.
Hey.
All right, y'all. We had an absolute fantastic discussion about nature. This was our first time talking nature. It won't be the last time talking nature. And I'm very curious to see what we come up with the next time we talk nature and where we're at for ourselves. That'll be interesting.
Cool.
So, thanks for riding along with us. I'll let these guys add anything at the end, but I'm Zach. We got Brandon. We got Derek. I pointed the wrong way. We got Derek. We got Brandon. And, we'll see you guys on the next one.
Later.
Thanks, guys. Get outside.
Peace. Thanks again for tuning in, and don't hesitate to catch our next release, episode 26, Domesticated, Taming a Wild Beast to Love. The Goon Squad talks about all of their favorite animals over the years, all the pets that they've had, the lessons they've learned from them, and just what it means to have animals in general. Thanks again, guys. Take care.